Shall we start the session, sir?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Shall we start the session?
Yeah, we can. So I don't know. Somehow I can see there are multiple screens here.
Yeah.
One second. Let me see if something is wrong. So are you able to see my full screen now, right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Okay. So we'll start the session, sir. Sir,
Okay,
hello.
okay. Just give me 30 seconds, sir. Huh? I will start in a minute.
Before
Yeah.
that, I will introduce today's
Sure, sir.
expert.
Sure.
So, good morning to all. I welcome today's expert, Mr. Anil Kasole, Technical Solutions, Global Tata Consultancy Service, United States. He has 16 years of experience working with leading pharma companies and pharma consulting company in various disciplines of the project management, engineering and automations, and IT. He has executed the project as a successful automation and system integrations lead from concept to commercial productions. Kasole sir is having a strong experience in variety of manufacturing automations and application system, plant automations, MES. Kasole sir completed his graduate degree in instrumentation and control in 2002. Anil Kasole sir completed his master business administrations in project management in the year of 2014. He had joined as assistant manager in Cipla in the year 2007. He had joined as automation manager in Mahindra and Mahindra in July 2007 to December 2009. He had joined as instrumentation manager in Acta Vis in December 2016. So these are the short introductions of today's expert. Now I request to to start the session.
Okay, sure, sir. I think if you all see my screen, I will start
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the session.
Your screen is
Okay.
visible, sir.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity to share my thought and what is needed into the pharmaceutical manufacturing, right? So we will see the different sessions. So today we can go through the what is pharmaceutical manufacturing means. This is just an overview. So you may see some wording, some terminologies, or some the sentences here which may not be applicable for us in day to day. Sometimes you may feel it is little different than what we are learning and what we are doing in the instrumentation automation, but in the next tomorrow's and day after tomorrow's session, right, you can see the correlation between this. So idea behind today's session is, before we go into the automation as well as into the digital, where instrumentation, automation, controls plays a great role. So we always wanted to know what is this industry belongs to and how it relates to our day-to-day life, and why it is so important for all of us to understand what is a pharmaceutical manufacturing. So that is the purpose of having this session today. Um, I will go with the very basic, maybe few of the terminologies we may are familiar with this, but it's better to go with the flow and understand each and everything here. Okay. So we all know what is pharmaceutical manufacturing, right? So where the tablets or any medicines is made in the industry, so that is a pharmaceutical industry, right? So you can see I just added few notes in the right hand side so that we all know why this industry, pharmaceutical industry, is essential. And typically it belongs to the healthcare industry, right? It healthcare industry divided into the three different. One is pharmaceuticals, second is the medical devices, and third one is the consumer. But pharmaceuticals is the different than medical devices and the consumer industry. And actually, the pharma, again, we can see in the subsequent slide also. But basically, it starts with R&D, that is research and development, and based on that, they manufacture the drugs and the therapies, right? So that is what it is called as a pharmaceutical manufacturing. Since this is related to our individuals, right? We always need to know what this company does and what are their key roles, where we can fit ourselves in the future, why it is so important for us to understand the segmentations, the domain, the technologies. Of course, is our instrumentation and controls is automatically follow the way how industries are growing, right? Uh, in order to understand, so there are various different types, I would say. The segmentation we can see in the next slide, but as a very high level, research and development companies. Okay, so this is also into the pharmaceuticals, contract manufacturing, generic manufacturing, specialty pharmaceutical manufacturing, and the big biopharmaceuticals companies. So these are the five different segments into the pharma. And if we wanted to understand furthermore, right? So how this segmentation is divided. So you can see typically core manufacturing where drugs are manufactured. So second area, or in another word, the companies, right? Contract research. Typically it is represented as CRMS, nothing but contract research and manufacturing. Third segment is research and development, that is R&D. And very big segmentation is into the marketing. And if we see the manufacturing, that is again divided into two, formulation manufacturing, API manufacturing. And again, these both formulation and API. Let me put into the pointer option, it's better. Yeah. Yeah, you can see the formulation API. I will explain what is the API means. And both are belongs to either branded drugs or generic drugs, or it is sometimes is called as CMO. This is a contract manufacturing. Similarly, if we look into the contract research and manufacturing, CRMS organization, followed by R&D. So they divided into three sub different buckets. Number one is the contract research organization. Uh, CRO is a very popular word in pharma. That is nothing but the contract research organization. NC R&D, it is for the new product and the formulation R&D. And this R&D is divided into synthetic R&D and the bioanalytics R&D. So in the right hand side also, you can see just the same way what we have seen in the previous slide: formulation manufacturing plants, API manufacturing, contract, novel drugs, oncology, parental, topical medicines, oral drugs. For now, we don't want to go into the very detail. This is to understand what are the different segmentations and how this each segmentation is related to each other. So this is just a simple message out of this slide. Now we can see the basic functionalities of these, the different I would say the companies and the type of the companies into segmentation. For example, research and development. In the left hand side, you can see these are the top pharmaceutical companies. They are into the research and development as well as into the contract manufacturing. For example, few of the companies we may be familiar with, but just an example, right? Piramal Healthcare, that is India-based company, Lonza. So these are very popular organizations. They do the proper R&D, and their focus is into the research and development of the new drugs. For example, any medicine which is not there into the market, if there is a one, like for example, during the pandemic, right? We have the COVID vaccine or the COVID. So we never know at that time in 2019 what will happen, what will be the disease, right? So companies called as an Pfizer, Moderna, so they started with the R&D first. They developed the formula, so their focus was research and develop the new drugs that was on the as a vaccine over the pandemic, right? Also, they invest a huge money into the R&D because our R&D invests a lot of money in the new molecules. We can see in the next slide what are those molecules means. They also invest a lot in conduct the clinical trials to get the regulatory approvals, right? I purposely don't wanted to go into the very theoretical, but wherever I find it is important for all of us to understand the basic functions, what they do, so that you can correlate tomorrow and after tomorrow also. So R&D also have the small biotech starts up, means the small manufacturing setup within the R&D, so they can produce the drugs in the small volumes. They also develop the new drugs and usually takes several years, right? And that cost billions of the dollar. So that's the reason these companies are really fortunate enough to develop the product that reaches to the market. So you can also see the detail in the subsequent slides, but for now, so R&D is uh, the segment in the pharmaceutical industry where the new products is developed for the new diseases. At the same time, I have not highlighted here, but for adding one more line, so let's say we have the products. Let's say, for example, crocin as a tablet. If there is some improvement is necessary into the tablet, so that also falls under the R&D. So they can start the new development for the new dose and they can start the process. Okay. So the contract manufacturing followed by R&D. So these are the companies. They mainly provide the services to the big pharmaceutical companies. For example, Pfizer, Johnson Johnson, Merck, Bayer. So they are the big pharmaceutical companies, and they wanted to make some drugs, but their capacities are not enough. They reach out to the small scale companies and they give the formula or the product, and other companies are making the product. That is nothing but the services they provide to the big pharmaceuticals. So that is what is a contract manufacturing. But looking to the processes technology, you can always see they are the similar or the same. And these contract manufacturing, they take the full ownership of the manufacturing, packaging, and distributing the drugs. It's same like big pharmaceuticals. So as I said, these are the small pharmaceutical companies, and always whatever the products they are making, right, they are dependent on the big pharmaceuticals. So that's the reason they need specific molecules, meaning they cannot develop their own product. Whatever the big pharmaceutical company says, they follow and they develop the drugs for the other companies. It's a service company, but it's a pharmaceutical company. But in this trend, it is called as a contract manufacturing. Likewise, we saw in the first slide. So two more types: generic manufacturing and brand, right? So we can see the brand also here in the next slide. Generic means uh, the product which is already in the market since many years. So you can see here, produce generic version of existing drugs, right? Means that is already launched, already patients are consuming that drugs, but they are making this production. In another word, generic is nothing but a commercial manufacturing. So every day they are making the big volume of the product and it is consumed by the patients like us. So that is a generic product. So just to understand other terminologies, the compete on the price and their products are usually substantially cheaper, meaning because they are making the product in a big volume. So that's the reason investment, the processes, they are the same. So that's the reason they can make the product comparatively with the less price. They don't want to invest into the R&D because again, we saw from what is R&D, right? It requires a lot of investments in the money, time, resources. But the generic product manufacturing companies, they invest less in R&D. Like I said, they have the high significant volume, means large volume of the product. So they can earn the money or they can get the revenue based on the commercial manufacturing. It is not like others. Um, so this is about generic. And in the left hand side, you can also see what are those generic manufacturing companies in the world. So this is a trend from for the 2023. Just to understand, so number one, so this is according to the rank. Pfizer is the number one, then followed by the Johnson Johnson, Sinopharm, Roche, Merck, Abbvie, right? So these are the popular names: Novartis, BMS, Sanofi, AstraZeneca, GSK, and all these top 30 companies in the list, in the rank. So they are all into the generic manufacturing. They produce very large number of products every year, and We all are the consumer for that. Then what is a specialty pharmaceutical companies? They focus on developing the drugs and therapies for a specific conditions. I mean, this is a very unique drugs. For example, on the cancer. So they can focus on specialty pharmaceuticals. Likewise, because this drug is not into the market, but they spend a lot of different process developments, studies, stabilities, and based on that, they can come up with the very unique product, right? That is nothing but the specialty pharmaceuticals. So they are relatively new compared to the generic or the big pharma companies, and this is driven by because like during the COVID, right? I'm just giving the COVID example again so that we can correlate this. So that was a new drug. So that also falls under the specialty pharmaceutical companies. So depends on what the disease, what the product is. That's why they have a very high demand, and their price of the product is also comparatively high. But the process perspective, it is almost the same. Okay. And the very popular world called as a big pharmaceutical companies. You can see in the this chart here. Again, this is the rank wise companies and their revenues, right? Because of the volume, because of the revenues, you can see Pfizer, for example, 58.5 billion. Likewise, J&J 54.8, AbbVie 54.32 billion companies, right? So these are the big companies. So the established giants in pharma industry means they have very reputed reputations into the market. They follow the 100% compliances. Always means of course every small specialty or generic and brand, so they always need to follow the compliances, but they are very strict. And as we can see the comparison, so they always invest in R&D because they wanted to launch the new product regularly or frequently, either way. So it requires the specific R&D setup in order to develop these molecules and go to the market strategy. So this is where at very high level what are those different types. Now we discuss about what are the different types of the companies, what they do and how they do, right? Let's say for example, any new drug that we wanted to launch, company wanted to launch into the market. So this is a drug discovery cycle. So I will take you through some examples also live. Means what are those steps actually? This is from the US FDA, and I think we all are familiar with what is US FDA. That is United States Foods and Drugs Approval Committee, right? So they have so every company, what are the products they are making in pharma, and if that product is going to be used into the United States, for example, so they have to follow the US FDA norms, rules, guidances, standard practices, and their directives, right? So, like for example, if we are making the product in the world and we from India we are consuming that product, so we also have India FDA, right? So FDA is an institute. Every country have its own norms, slightly different than the other countries, right? That's what the FDA is very important. So every pharmaceutical industry is driven by the FDA. So you can see from the left hand side, so compound collection. So again, I will not go into the chemistry for now. I wanted to keep this session little simple. So compound collection means what are the new product that is going to be launched. So this will go with the primary assay. So assay is a one method that is being used in order to start the first R&D in order to make the high throughput, means what will be the maximum volume in the lab in the process development into the commercial manufacturing. So that may be from either the chemical synthesis and which is derived determined from the design. So this is just not a simple process, but for us it is important to understand from the right hand side slide. So I think I forgot to add what is API means. API is an active pharmaceutical ingredients. We can see the detailed slides in the next. In order to make this API, so you can see the staging materials, APIs, excipients, right? So by adding this, you will get a finished product, and that will go into the primary packaging and the secondary packaging, right? So this is a typical the different stages. Now, if we want to know what is a drug discovery cycle, right? Let me go through. Uh, I don't, yeah, here. So I am into the, you can see US foods and drug. This is also, I will send it after this the session. You can also refer. So in the pharmaceutical manufacturing, if any company wanted to launch a new product, these are the steps. So each and every pharmaceutical company, whatever is the segmentation, they need to follow this the method. For example, the step one, this is called as a discovery and a development. So research for a new drug begin into the laboratory. That means that company need to do the research and come up with the lab volume product. That is nothing but, or that is called as a discovery and a development. Once you develop the product in R&D, and before it goes into the process development as well as into the commercial manufacturing, FDA tells the manufacturing industry go for the preclinical research. So here the drugs undergo laboratory and depends is, even though it's mentioned animal testing, and answer the basic questions about the safety. So if we remember the last session we had on the cell and gene therapy, where we saw how the different products is injected biologically or orally is an all right. So likewise, whatever the product is developed into the lab, in order to have the preclinical research, so that has to be tested on animal. Again, animal can be different based on the what dosages. This is a mandatory steps from the FDA. And with this applying or using these drugs over the animal, what will be the results that will be monitored, that will be verified, that will be checked, and based on that the final results will be declared to the FDA. Once those results are successful, it goes into the step 3, that is a clinical research. So this is a preclinical. So drugs are tested on people. Now here we got the results in the step 2, that is a preclinical research. Now clinical, it's more into the people. So it depends on what kind of the product. So for example, some companies have the different people and they apply that drugs, they study the person's behavior, and based on that they monitor the results, and that results will be recorded, and based on that final outcome will be submitted to the FDA again. And after the step 3 is completed, this is step 4, FDA review. So FDA reviews the teams thoroughly, examines all the submitted data related to drugs or devices, and make the decisions to approve or not to approve. So these are the very 4 basic stages or the steps in order to launch the new product. Even though we can see this step 1, step 3 and step 4 is very simple, but from discovery to get the approval, minimum it is an 1 year to 3 years, 4 years, 5-year process also. That's the reason every pharmaceutical industry making that product um, or launching that product into the market, it is a very lengthy process because of all these, the different FDA requirements, that is called a drug development process, that they have to extensively follow. So it requires time investments. So that's the reason many of the products are costlier, and the final products also, right, out of that, once for example the new product is approved by the FDA, you can see the step 5. So step 4 are important. Then FDA will post market safety monitoring. That means monitors all drugs and devices safety once products are available for the use by the public. So it is not only we need to get the approval. Once approval is there, we need to start, or the company need to start making those product into the commercial, and that will be continuously monitored by the FDA. So in this website, they have given a lot of different information in detail. What is discovery means, what are the development means, right? So everything is given. I will share this link later on. But for today, I just wanted to give the awareness why this R&D followed by the new product development is important and what are the steps company need to follow. Okay, I will go back to our original screen now. Now let us see. One second, sorry. What are the pharmaceutical manufacturing processes? So we saw uh, the segmentation followed by the FDA related process. Now it's a time to make the product. What is the new product that we launched? We get the approval from the lab. Now it's time to make this product. So in order to make this product, there are various different types. Now here it is very important to understand what is API means now. So API stands for active pharmaceutical ingredients. So there are basically three types of the API. One is a synthetic API, that means chemically synthesized in a laboratories. Second is natural APIs, and third one is the biotechnology. So in simple words, for example, we are familiar with the tablet called as crocin. So we know crocin 150 milligram. So that 150 milligram is the actual API. So remaining weight of that particular tablet is combination of other materials being added during the process. But that 150 milligram, 250 milligram is the API. So this API, either it came from the synthetic, means chemically, by adding the chemical into that, either it is derived from the natural sources, for example, plants or animal, or either it is coming from the biological. Biological means so from the bacteria or the funguses, right? So that is the biology. We can see these details in the, I think in the next slide or subsequent slides. But for now, these are the three different types. And in the right hand side also you can see biochemically, means again there are some APIs, they also need the biological, but in order to make the growth of bacteria and the funguses, it also required chemicals. So that is also called as a biochemically developed or extracted from animal or plant, that is a natural. Chemically synthesis we see in the synthesis API. There are also subtypes. In the left hand side, these are the basic types. Fermented in a sterile environment, like making the curd from the milk, right? So that is a fermentation process. So likewise, this API also can make by the similar process, or some APIs manufactured in lab, and sometimes it is also the purified materials from animal or plant. So this is the API. Now, what is API versus a formulation? We always need to know what is the difference. So I gave one example of crocin again, right? 250 milligram crocin is in a tablet, that is a final product. So in that we have the 250 milligram is API, remaining is our the product which is developed based on the formulation process. So in another word, API, that is active pharmaceutical ingredients, is a backbone for the medicine or of the medicine. However, the formulation is art of the drug delivery, is how to make the product, that is the formulation, and how to add as a key material into the final product, that is the backbone of the medications. So you can see, in other word, the API is an active substance. Sometimes API is also called as a drug substance, DS. So you maybe heard about DS. DP is drug product or drug substance. They are also API. So they are responsible for the therapeutic effects. Okay, so this terminology we can discuss later, but it's a drug substance. So it undergoes rigorous manufacturing standards and regulatory process, because it's a either chemical, either biology, or either it is a animal, means from plants or animals it is derived. So they need to follow a lot of different standards and regulatory process. So with this we discussed about natural product synthesis, right? Now this serves as a backbone for the medicines and acts directly or targeted biological targets. So this have the significant research and development investment, because API is such a large manufacturing plants. It consists of lot of different process equipment, operations, chemical process, handling lot of different solvents, safety systems. Sometimes is very hazard. So requires lot of different controls, and here instrumentation plays a great role. So tomorrow's sessions will be very interesting, to understand how we as a instrumentation automations or um, the process engineers, right, can play a great role in API as well as into the pharmaceutical manufacturing. We can see tomorrow. But for now, this is API, and formulation is this is the process of combining API with other component to create a safe, effective, and deliverable drug product. So this is others are just for the reference. Um, Now we can jump into the next. So we know the difference between API and formulation. This is just a representation of what is the chem means chemical APIs. So again, we don't want to go into the very detail, but you can see from this drawing how your the final drugs as an output of the API manufacturing is produced. So mainly it starts with the reaction. That is a reactor. The reactor is equipment, but the process is a reaction. Second operation is the separation. Third one is the crystallization. Fourth one is again the separation or the purification. Typically, it is called as a purification. And finally, is the drying. So the reactions cannot start by their own. So it requires water, means again the utilities, compressed air, compressed gas, or steam on the utilities, right? Catalyst activated carbon. So these are the main ingredients that need to be added. So here you can see the chemical, right? Activated carbons. It is also the one of the chemical. Air or gas is required to heat and cool this reactor so that you can maintain the temperature. You can apply the control system also. One second, so my voice is little down. Sorry for that. Yeah. So once the reaction is completed, the next process will be this is actual process. So you can see in the number one, standard discharge cartridge filtration. So it requires to have the filtration. Then that is what the separation can be done through the filtration, right? That's why filter is an equipment. The process will be the separation, and it is also go with the final separation process. That is a cartridge and the cartridge filtration. So it is, let's say for example, 500 micron. So here it will have the 1 micron, right? So like that's level of filtration. Then it go to the crystallization. So it will form the differentiators what was left from the separation, and it will go for the final purification. Again, there are a lot of different filtration process here, and the drying, you can see again the filtration here, but the finally either is a vacuum tray dryer or air tray dryer, right? So means the product is dried by air or vacuum, and this will go into the last step. So this is just a high level process of the chem API. Biological API, I think this we had the last time, but quickly. So it starts with the lab is a raw material, comes in a very small volume, then goes into the seed train, means formation of the seed, goes into the bioreactor, then harvesting, filtration, and this is a column for uh, having the different setups or distillation. I would say distillation, the ultrafiltration, entry filtration, and the formulation. So in order to understand this drawing, so typically the first three raw materials, seed and the bioreactor, it is called an upstream, and downstream is a harvest filtration column. Again, ultrafiltration, defiltration, the formulation, this is a downstream. So what is biology right here? Let's say, for example, we know the wheat flour, right? So we know, for example, raw wheat. So it is dried. It will feed into the this small vessel, and you can add some, for example, food, for example, glucose. If you can keep it here for, let's say, for example, 72 hours, so that will form a bacteria. So at certain duration, this will the bacteria will be grown, that is into seed train, and this then again it will go into the bioreactor. The large volume of the bacteria will be grown here by adding the specific and very accurate controls. And finally, these are again the downstream harvesting, keeping that certain temperature, filtering those. In the distillation, it will be separated out. Again, microfiltration and the formulation. That means, so during the downstream process, so the main bacteria will be actually died at the harvesting. The skin and the mass will be separated. What is the skin left? The based on that the powder will be formed and that will be filled into as a final drug. So this is a biological process. Again, today we don't want to go into the detail, but at high level, it is better to understand. And finally, the formulation. We saw the difference of the formulation. So in the formulation process, either the API which is coming from chemical or coming from the biology as in the final drugs. So it goes into the milling process. Again, these operations are not fixed. They can vary here and there based on the nature of the product and what product it is. But this is high level process. So after the milling, this is the granulator where excipient as well as the milling final outcome is added. Then goes into the dryer and then again goes into the milling. Then it will be feed to the feeder, the feed for the tablet press through the hooper, and then finally this coating will happen. Tablets will be made. This is packaging. This is just an example of ibuprofen, but just wanted to give the message saying that API either chemical or the bio. So this will go into the granulation is a very critical process in formulation. Tablet press is on a second critical operation, coating, and finally is the packaging, either primary and a secondary. This is one of the process for third party. So I think this is just for the knowledge quickly. So it will start with the request. Again, the what is third party we saw in the first slide. It also belongs to the contract manufacturing. So it's a service industry. So they take a product and request for the rates, finalizing the quantity, making the purchase order, artwork again mainly into the packaging work, and okay, so making this product documentation and delivery of the product. So there's nothing to do with much here. And here you can see this is very important for us to understand quickly. Now we saw the API formulations and injectable, right? So there are two different types of the drugs. It is also called as molecules, right? If we refer into the pharma, so we always have the small and large molecules. So there are always the debate. What is small molecules? What is large molecule? Let's say, for example, Cipla. Let's say, for example, Lupin. Let's say, for example, Johnson Johnson. People always call about, okay, so I'm working in small molecules. I'm working in the large molecule. But what is that? From the domain perspective, from the process perspective, and from the chemistry perspective. So I just tried based on my experience while working with the small and large molecule. What is the difference between the two? So, for example, nature of the molecules. This is a key attributes. So, in small molecules, they are the low molecular weight. Means weight of that molecules are the compound weight is always a low. Typically, it's less than 100 daltons. And however, in the large molecules, it is about to 1000 daltons, right? That is a molecular compound weight. It is always measured, unit of measurement is dalton. So again, this is very important difference. The small molecules, they are administered, means how it is consumed is orally in the form of pills or capsules. The smaller size allows uh, to easily penetrate cells membrane, making them effective for disease within the cells, right? Again, so we don't want to go into the very detailed terminologies, but simple words, small molecules, their compound weight is very less compared to the large molecules. And here are some of the examples which is popular, right? Small molecules, aspirin. Insulin is also large molecules. So just to understand. And in terms of the manufacturing, because we always believe and majority of the work is into the manufacturing. These are the chemically synthesized, making the process relatively straightforward. That means whenever we call as an API manufacturing, 90% times it belongs to small molecules. When we talk about the biological APIs, they are majority times used into large molecules, because the large molecules are the biologics are produced using the living cells, making process more intricate and susceptible to to minute changes in a production environment. So meaning, so when you grow the biological drugs, it has to be instant application of their controls and making the final quality of the product, in other words. So again, from the regulatory, both are the same. Every small molecules, large molecules, they always need to go with the all compliance regulatories, approvals, change managements, managing the documentation, data integrity, everything, they are the same. And about the market, so once the patent expires in a small molecules drug, other companies can also produce a generic version. That means once if you make a product, its patent is expires, so you can use that patent to produce the generic product. So likewise, pricing again, it depends on what product they are making. But at very high level, we need to understand what is the difference between the two. And as a summary of that, you can also see here size. They are the small. Administrator means orally, and the large molecule by injection or infusion. Structure simple and complex. Source is chemical and living cells. Price, they are the cheap compared to the large molecules. Example is aspirin, insulin. Another summary. So both small and large molecule, they aim to treat, prevent the relative symptoms of the disease, right? Regulatory is the same. Research and development is again depends on what small and the large molecules they wanted to make. And storage, again, uh, either is a cold room to maintain those product in -2 degrees Celsius, -10 degrees Celsius, -15 degrees Celsius. They're different according to nature of the product. Okay, but this is just on a high level differences. Let me check the time. Uh, can I continue for 5 minutes, sir? Now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So I will quickly go through this. The what are the other areas? Right now we saw the process, how the products is made. The specific areas means I think I thought like it's important to know. So let's say for example, we saw the API, we saw the bio, we saw the formulation. So all are the batch process. Now uh, every industry is going towards a continuous manufacturing. It's we can see that continuous manufacturing or the digital manufacturing later on, but between the discrete or the batch to the continuous manufacturing, what is a typical process that I don't know whether you all can read it, but I will try to make it simple, right? There is a very long process which is most of the time is invisible for the people like us, those who are working into the manufacturing. We always talk batch and continuous. but how that transformation is happening. So this is a transformation. Let's say, for example, you have the existing batch process. So team is doing the initial screening, means understanding the process requirements, characteristics, and the challenges in making the current product. What are the different challenges? What are the characteristics of that process? It is understanding, nothing but called as an assessment. Then, um, how it is beneficial in terms of the techno-economic situation. So based on that, okay, so it is feasible. Then what is the initial screening is there, right? And we see yes, then we need to go with the very extended evaluation, step by step process and unit operations evaluation. What are the units? What are the process involved? Each process need to evaluate very detailed. Is there some new requirement, new technology, or new equipment is needed in order to make this, or engineering changes are needed? Then process development, different process design scenarios. So again, 90% times we always need to design the new process, new design of the equipments and the business scenarios, then followed by the process design for sure. If we wanted to go with the continuous, that is objective, yes. Then what will be the critical process changes, means what will impact onto the product quality. Then do we have the new plant or do we need to invest into the new plant? Yes or no? Whether we need a greenfield is a new manufacturing facility, or can we build this plant within the current setup, that is a brownfield. And based on that, final budgeting or the financials assessments are made. Finally, the implementation decisions is made, and detailed process design and the evaluation is completed. So every industry, they wanted to go from batch to continuous, they have to do this complete assessment. This is a typical example, this is a typical workflow. I thought it's we wanted to know, because this is usually and most of the time it is, I would say, hidden for the people those who are looking into manufacturing. And the clinical trials, again, this is just so simple. So any product that is launched by the pharmaceutical companies, they have to go with the phase 3 trials minimum. Phase 1, phase 2, again phase 2 have A, B, and phase 3 followed by the phase 4. Phase 4 is depends on what it is, but phase 1 to 3, these are the compulsory. So during the phase 1, phase 2, A, B, and phase 3, what API is doing, what formulation is, what analytical is doing. So for example, in the preclinical, in the phase 1, so it's a pharmacology, animal toxicity, and in phase 2 is a product development phase. But however, in API, again, it's a small scale process scale setup, technology transfer, meaning in the API, in phase 2, so they do the between phase 1 and phase 2 small scale process, then moving that into the larger scale, and before they move into the final production, that is a phase 4, they need to apply the technology transfer, means engineering changes from this scale to this scale. So this is the compliance need every industry need to follow. And this is also the very unique life cycle of the pharmaceutical supply chain. So but again, I will spend 30 seconds here. So you can see the any product which is made or make into the manufacturing. So you can see this will go into the farm. You can see the manufacturer. So PBM is a depends on how they wanted to use it. Again, this health plan and all these coming from the other, but manufacturing go to the wholesaler, and from the wholesaler it goes to the pharmacy, and pharmacy to patients. If there are the other health companies, they have this closed loop with the PBM, and again they go to the manufacturing. This is just from a closed loop, but just wanted to highlight. So you can see the dark blue is the flow of drugs, flow of funds, and information contact agreements, just for the knowledge. And in order to know, because this is just a very quick snapshot or the screenshot, The glossaries. There are millions and billions of the terminology in the pharma, but just I added for looking at to this business process uh, in terms of the drugs. So there are various different terminology. I said millions and billions, but there are key. For example, brand product, generic product, biologics, biosimilar, retail drugs, physical administered drugs, specialty drugs, innovative drug, blah blah stuffs. So it is very hard to put into the slides one or two. So there are books, big books where we can see all the terminology that is necessary. If we go into the quality, if we go into the manufacturing, if we go into the regulatory, so in the automation you will always see the common terminologies. The important point to remember here, so what are the FDA terminologies each pharmaceutical company has to follow, but it does not mean they have to follow compulsory, because every manufacturing setup they can also define the sub terminologies based on that. That is the guidelines. But here you can also see piping and instrumentation, P&ID, right? We always talk about assessment, ICH, component, traceability, actions, CQA, QMS. So again, I will not go into the detail, CAPAs, reviews. So impact, specifications, management, quality, good manufacturing practices, good engineering practices. So these are the typical glossaries or the terminologies that we can remember. I think this is what I put it for today, just to understand you the overview for the pharmaceutical manufacturing. So based on this, maybe in the next session we can go through the automations and we can try to correlate what we discussed today. So that if you have any doubts, I think few of the doubts will get automatically clear with the next session. So I will take a pause if there are any questions from my end. I think this is the session for today.
Any questions from the student? Hello. If any
Sir,
questions,
what is
please
the
ask.
role of instrumentation engineer in pharma industry?
Yeah, I can quickly touch base to that. But I have added that for tomorrow if you are going to join. If you see from the manufacturer, right, API bioformulations, and if you saw all the process, right, everything will be managed. Means in simple words, instrumentation can design the manufacturing processes through the automation. They can start the innovations within the manufacturing process. You can also start building the automation systems. For example, sensors, transmitters, uh, designing of these control systems, recipe managements, integrations, uh, applying those instrumentation, new technologies into the process, helping the manufacturing process manual to automatic, automatic batch recording, data integrity, the validations. There are many areas. Whatever we saw to today, so from start to end, everywhere where you are interested into, you can apply your knowledge and you can work across anything in any of the small functions here and there. Everywhere. Core engineering, again the equipment, sizing of the equipment, designing the processes, pipings, instrumentations, implementation, commissioning and qualifications. There are many things that instrumentation and process together they can help. Is that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Hello, Kasole sir.
Yes, sir, I'm here. Yeah.
So my question is, what type of modern tools are used in pharmaceutical industry for automations?
Yeah, so everything starts with the basic automation system. For example, PLC, DCS, SCADA, HMI.
Okay.
And the next step is the integrations of this in order to start the electronic batch recording. And nowadays, from last 3 4 years at least, industries are going with the OT versus IT integrations now. So OT stands for operation technologies, IT stands for information technologies. So OT and IT guys are working hand in hand. For example, digital twin, uh, AI, ML, AR, VR, right? So these are the technologies typically used everywhere across all the areas into the pharmaceuticals. Means there is no specific technology. Whatever the new technology you have, and it's just determining the use case and applying that use case with the new technology can work. So like that, sorry.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem.
Hello, Kadu sir is joined the meeting. Kadu sir,
Good morning, sir.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good
How are
morning.
you? Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Yeah,
How are you?
and it might be good night at your end.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's fine. It's around, um, yeah, it's around 12. Yeah, but that's fine, sir. Yeah,
Well, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah. I just want to bring it to the notice of the students that sir is taking efforts at he is delivering lecture at 11 to 12 p.m. So, so how serious you must be. So everyone must now. I have seen that only one question was raised. So we are expecting that this kind of sessions it should be interactive, and you should that these are the topics you should search and see that what kind of questions or how you can get more benefit out of it. That kind of sessions we are expecting from the student side. Sir, you have given very nice presentation, nice overview of the topic also. And as this is the series, so all the topics will be covered in detail. And I hope all the students will take advantage of uh, these activities. And so this is how from next session, at least we should see that there should be some interaction with the sir and how we can proceed. So thank you very much, sir, for sparing your valuable time and taking it to the late night. And we are really proud of you. So you are sparing your time for our students also. So this will definitely help them, and it will make them aware about the what is going on the pharma industry and how what is the role of instrumentation in pharma industry. Thank you once again, sir.
Yeah, no problem, sir. It's my pleasure, delivering something because I learned from you and the college, right? So it's my
Yeah,
turn now to give it back.
yeah,
But thanks, like you, as you advise to the students, right? Again,
yeah.
from my perspective, also, just wanted to add one more line. So it's to everyone. So don't be shy in asking the questions, right? Be open.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is the basic problem, sir.
yeah. So whatever, right? You don't feel like, whether it's a right, wrong, or any questions, whatever comes in your mind, just shoot that question. And I
Yeah,
think tomorrow's session, I would suggest everyone to attend because that will be more related to instrumentation, automations, and everything. You can correlate. But as Sir said, right, I would also expect is a bi-directional communication. Again, it's for you, right? So the moment you started asking the questions, you get the doubts cleared. Maybe not in the session, but at the end of the session, whatever I know, I will definitely provide my guidance and answers. But keep talking so that it will be helpful for others also. Just thanks for that, sir. I just wanted to add the same thing.
yeah, yeah.
thank you,
Yes,
sir.
over to you, brother, sir.
No problem.
Thank you, Kasole sir. So with this, we
We,
conclude this session.
we need to take a snapshot.
Yes, sir. Kasole sir,
So
Yeah, yeah, sir.
everyone start their video camera.
everyone, please
One
start your
second.
camera.
Let me see
All the
where.
students also you are requested to make your video on so that
One sec. Because I took another
yeah,
computer.
yeah.
One sec.
multiple screens are there.
Yeah. I think. Can you see me now, or is
Yes,
little
sir.
dark?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Remaining
good to see
student, please start
everything.
your corner.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can go. Can you see me now
Thank you,
better?
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the late night, right? So that's the reason you can see little dark in the room.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much, huh,
Okay. Thank
for
you.
everything.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you, sir. No
We'll
problem.
meet tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, sure, sure. Okay,
So,
Thank you, Anil sir. Thank you.
no worries, no worries. Yeah,
Nice presentation. Nice knowledge sharing. Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
with this, we conclude this session. Thank you. Thanks to all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Hmm.
हा सर्व